He was born into royalty, loved by the people, called Little Boots as a child, a nickname that made Romans smile. But behind that innocent name was a man history would come to fear. Caligula, the Roman emperor who turned the world's greatest empire into a nightmare. He didn't just rule, he humiliated, tortured, and destroyed. He made his horse a senator, slept with his own sisters, and laughed as his enemies were slaughtered. This isn't fiction, this is history at its darkest. In this documentary, you'll uncover how one man's madness bled into an entire empire, and how his reign of terror ended in betrayal and blood. This is the story of Gaius Caligula, the bloodiest emperor in Roman history. Before we dive deeper into Caligula's twisted story, if you're enjoying this kind of dark history content, consider hitting that like button and subscribing. It helps a lot, and there's much more madness coming soon. All right, back to the story. Before Caligula, Rome stood like a god among nations. The Republic had fallen, and in its place rose the mighty Roman Empire, a machine of order, conquest, and discipline. His great-grandfather, Augustus, was the first emperor. A master of propaganda and politics, he turned Rome from a crumbling democracy into an imperial powerhouse. Under Augustus and later Tiberius, Rome's armies conquered across Europe. Roads stretched across continents. Cities flourished. Order was law. But behind the marble columns and golden eagles, cracks had already begun to form. Tiberius, Caligula's uncle and predecessor, grew paranoid, isolated, and brutal near the end of his reign. He moved to the island of Capri, indulging in strange pleasures while the empire was ruled by fear. It was in this shadow of corruption, distrust, and power that Caligula was raised. Caligula wasn't always feared. In fact, when he became emperor in 37 AD, the Roman people were ecstatic. After years of fear under the paranoid Tiberius, Caligula's youth and charm felt like a new beginning. He was just 24, handsome, charismatic, the son of a beloved general, Germanicus. He gave bonuses to soldiers, released political prisoners, held extravagant games and public feasts. Rome celebrated. Statues were raised. He was hailed as a god. But within just a few months, everything changed. Caligula fell gravely ill. Some say he was poisoned. Others say it was divine punishment. But when he recovered, he was no longer the same man. The charm was gone. The smile was twisted. The boy who once symbolized hope had turned into something else. He began seeing conspiracies in every corner. Executions became weekly entertainment, and he started referring to himself not just as a god, but as a living deity above all. After recovering from his mysterious illness, Caligula became unrecognizable. What followed wasn't just tyranny. It was madness in its purest form. He began dressing as various gods, Jupiter, Apollo, even Venus, wearing robes, armor, and golden wigs. He demanded to be worshipped in temples. Priests were forced to offer him sacrifices. He started holding elaborate ceremonies in honor of himself. At banquets, he would randomly burst into laughter, then refuse to explain why. "I was thinking," he once said, "how easy it would be to have you all killed." He moved his palace into the temple of Castor and Pollux and had his horse, Incitatus, live in a marble stall with a jeweled collar and servants. He began publicly claiming to be a living god. And anyone who hesitated to agree, they vanished. By now, even his closest advisors lived in fear, because no one, Not even Rome's senators were safe anymore. By now, the mask was gone. Caligula no longer pretended to be fair. He ruled by fear, violence, and humiliation. Executions became public theater. Entire families were slaughtered for a single insult. He made fathers watch their sons die, then forced them to dine with him that night. He once had a senator flogged to death while dinner was being served. At another banquet, he dissolved pearls in vinegar just to show how casually he could waste a fortune. Caligula didn't just kill. He humiliated. He would invite noble women to his palace, sleep with them, and return them to their husbands, sometimes narrating the experience in front of the Senate. His cruelty didn't stop at Rome. He demanded tribute from far-off provinces and executed governors for imagined slights. Even the gods weren't safe. He ordered the heads of their statues removed and replaced with his own. No one was untouchable. Rich, poor, soldier, senator. They all lived under a regime of paranoia and blood. And yet, no one dared to stop him. Not yet. For 4 long years, Rome lived in the shadow of Caligula's madness. But even monsters bleed, and Caligula's end came faster and bloodier than anyone expected. In secret, a group of senators and officers began to conspire. The emperor had insulted too many, killed too many. No one felt safe, not even the men sworn to protect him. Among the conspirators was Cassius Chaerea, a member of Caligula's personal guard. Caligula mocked his voice, humiliated him in front of others. Chaerea would be the one to strike. On January 24th, 41 AD, Caligula entered a private theater in the palace. As he stepped behind a curtain, Chaerea and his men attacked. They stabbed him over 30 times. His blood soaked the marble. Caligula screamed. No one helped. His wife and daughter were murdered shortly after. The empire did not mourn. The Senate tried to erase his name from history. But it was too late. Rome had already changed. The reign of Caligula ended in blood, but the echoes of his madness never really left Rome. After his death, the Senate tried to restore the Republic, but it was too late. The idea of emperors, of absolute power, had already taken root. Caligula's uncle, Claudius, would soon take the throne, and the cycle of control, corruption, and chaos would continue for centuries. So what do we make of Caligula? Was he insane, or simply the product of an empire that rewarded cruelty and feared weakness? He ruled for just 4 years, but in that time, he left a stain so deep that ancient historians struggled to separate fact from horror. He is remembered not for what he built, but for what he destroyed. And maybe that's the real legacy of power without limits. It doesn't just break the man who holds it. It breaks everything around him. Pause. This was the story of Gaius Julius Caesar Augustus Germanicus, a descendant of the great Julius Caesar, but not the man himself. His name carried the weight of an empire, and he nearly crushed it beneath him. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, you're a real one. I've got more insane history stories coming. Darker, crazier, more mind-blowing. So hit subscribe, drop a comment on what story I should cover next, and I'll see you in the next one. And if you're into this kind of dark history, check out The 12 Caesars on Audible. It's free with a trial and dives even deeper into Rome's bloodiest rulers. Links in the description. Thank you. All right. Bye.